Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk, back another video today. And today, the Houston Rockets and Fred VanVleet have pushed back the team option deadline decision to June 29th. This was a decision that would have had to be made on Friday if the Rockets and VanVleet did not push it back. And honestly, I kind of expected this deadline date to get pushed because it is not often you see a player or team option decided before the season is over. Like, you'll see before the season before the off season begins. Like, when I say that, I mean the draft and free agency at the end of June or beginning of July. Before you see all that begin, the draft is I think, right. My birthday is June 27th. I think the draft is like June 25th and June 26th this year. I know last year was June 26th and June 27th. That's how I remember that. But so you see the draft happen first, and then right after, so you see in this area, NBA Finals end. Then right after the Finals end, you see NBA draft, and then you see player and team options start to be decided on. And with player options, the players, I shouldn't have to explain player and team options, but some might not know what player team options are. A team option, it's pretty obvious. I mean, team option is where a team can decide whether the player stays on the team, by exercising that option, or if they decline it, then that player becomes a free agent. And the same thing with a player option. Only difference is that the player has the leverage and not the team. But so the Rockets have a decision to make with Fred VanVleet's team option, a decision that they would have had to make on Friday if they didn't push it back. And that's something that doesn't happen often, or team and player options being decided on when the playoffs are still going on. And so Rockets and VanVleet pushing it back to June 29th. That will be after the NBA draft. That will be after the NBA Finals are over. So not surprised that the Rockets and VanVleet are doing that. And if you would have asked me before the Rockets playoffs began, I would have told you the Rockets are going to decline that team option, because during the season there were these talks about how the Rockets were planning on potentially declining Fred VanVleet's team option, and then the two sides were going to work on signing an extension with each other on a multi-year extension, which is more of a team-friendly deal for the Rockets and VanVleet. And he's not making $40 million like he is currently. But now there's these talks about the Rockets exercising that team option and not declining it. I don't know if that's in fear that VanVleet, if they decline it, he might leave in free agency. That could play a role into it. But something else I also believe is that also it's possible that his good play in the postseason in the 7-game series against the Warriors might have might have pushed this Rockets team to actually exercising that team option instead of declining it. I mean, you look at the way VanVleet started that series against the Golden State Warriors. I think if you just look at, if you look at the stats in the 7-game series, like if you went on Basketball Reference and you looked at the 7 games, it shows you he shot 44% from three, or 43.9% from three, something like that, and averaged almost 20 points per game in the series, which that's good. But what it doesn't show you is his numbers from Game 1 to Game 3 and his numbers from Game 4 to Game 7. Because in Game 1 to Game 3, Fred VanVleet scored 34 points in the first 3 games. He didn't even shoot 21% from 3. Just under 21% from 3. It was like 20.2% from 3 for Fred VanVleet in the first 2 games of the series. Sorry, the first 3 games of the series. And so for Fred, that he was playing terrible. I mean, if you guys remember, Game 1 was absolutely atrocious. It was 2 for 13, and I'm not bringing this up to talk bad about Fred. I'm bringing this up to boost up how good Fred VanVleet was from Game 4 through Game 7 and those 4 games of the Houston Rockets team. Because from Game 4 through Game 7, Fred VanVleet averaged 24.2 points per game and shot 64% from 3. There's like a little bit over 63%, near 64% from 3. And also shot 21 for 33 from 3 in the last 4 games of the series. And Game 7 was actually not that great of a shooting night for him. I think it was like 2 for 6 or 2 for 7, something like that, Fred shot. Because the Warriors, they needed to change the way they guarded Fred VanVleet. It was like, because Game 4, Game 5, Game 6, Fred just shot absolute lights out. I think 7 for 11 I think it was 7 for 11 in Game 4, and then it was 4 for 6 in Game 5, and then I can't remember what Game 6 was, but he shot great. I know I want to say he hit 6 threes, but, and I don't know how many he attempted, though. Might have been 6 for 8. I don't remember, but I know he hit 5 or 6 threes in Game 6. But with how lights out he was from Game 4 through Game 6, you saw the Warriors in this Game 7 have to, try to limit the Fred VanVleet 3-point attempts, and I think that's one thing that hurt the Rockets, was not being able to get the Fred VanVleet production you got in the Game 4 through Game 4 through Game 6. I mean, it's not like Fred was bad in Game 7, because I thought Fred VanVleet was actually pretty solid in Game 7. Not as good as he was in the games before, but that's because the Warriors made a defensive plan against him, and so, but. He still played great in the series. It was a rough start for Fred in that series, but only reason I brought up the rough start to show you, I mean, like, if you look at it, 43% from 3, a little bit over 43% from 3, 20 points per game in the series. It looks like, it was a solid series for Fred, because it was, but if you look at just the second half of that series, unbelievable basketball played by Fred VanVleet. Some of the best basketball I think he's played as a Houston Rocket in his 2 seasons. So, I think that basketball right there that you saw from Fred VanVleet, and we're talking about the guy that was the closer for the Toronto Raptors in their playoff run and their championship run. He was absolutely spectacular for the Raptors when they won their NBA championship in the 2018-19 season. So, this guy is a playoff performer. That's one of the reasons why this Rockets team brought him in. And that could be one of the reasons why the Houston Rockets as well could look to exercise that team option that they will decide on June 29th, which is a little bit more than a month and a half away. Let me know your thoughts on this Houston Rockets Fred VanVleet team option thing, as we're going to see this deadline push. Would have been Friday, but now it's going to be June 29th, which not surprised at all that this is happening. This is a video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out. Go Rockets.